Amnesty International has released a pretty damning report in how the European Union defends human rights defenders. Here on The Brief from Brussels, we're taking a look at that report and what they're suggesting the EU should do.
While world leaders gather at the UN General Assembly in New York, human rights charities want to heap pressure on Europe to be more coherent in supporting victims. An Amnesty International report accuses the EU of double standards. The human rights organisation says Europe stays silent on Saudi Arabia's crackdowns, for instance, compared to their louder criticism of China or Russia, say.
We found many innovative approaches where EU delegations have supported defenders. They've named them, they've attended their trials, and they have called for release of defenders in prison. We want to see more of this, and particularly looking at the EU guidelines for human rights defenders, these to be fully implemented and for a much bolder approach.
In addition to China, Russia and Saudi Arabia, the report also analysed the situation in Burundi and Honduras over the past 5 years. Amnesty International says activists defending the rights of women, LGBTI people, indigenous people, land and the environment are all at risk. And some lawmakers want human rights promises to be a condition for the EU's trade deals.
We are at the moment negotiating the Mercosur trade deal with Brazil, and I have no understanding if we do not put human rights and environmental safeguards in this trade deal. What we see is that it's specific national, I would say egoistic interests of some member states in specific states that inhibit the EU from taking a common standpoint.
Several Brazilian human rights defenders are nominated by the European Parliament's political groups for the 2019 Sakharov Prize for Freedom of Thought. The prize will be awarded in December.
And it's at the United Nations General Assembly in New York where pressure for human rights issues is heaped on world leaders. Jack Parrott, Euronews, Brussels.
EU member states are to impose sanctions against 7 Venezuelan officials for their links to cases of torture and human rights violations. European ambassadors have also given approval to create a sanctions regime against Nicaragua. Both decisions must be ratified by EU ministers. First ever European Research and Innovation Days in Brussels. The event brings together industry and science stakeholders to debate the future of innovation in Europe. And an award ceremony for an EU contest for young scientists.